project was to create an outdoor park that would be open to the public and that is really front-facing outdoor space that would be accessible all times of year, sunrise to sunset, and allow people to enjoy this like large outdoor space that has residential growth near it, whether they were or not kind of invested in the equestrian element of it, and also use that as a vehicle to introduce people to the equestrian center itself. So with that, the site is organized along a grid, which has a variety of different landscape parks and spaces, kind of pulling from the Miller House. Some thoughts about creating enclosure and openness through landscaping, and I spent some time researching the different plant species and types that grow well on the site and in the area, and how these would kind of change and be affected through the season. So kind of thinking about what plants would grow in a springtime blooming meadow versus a fall, what would do well in a garden, the trees that would do well to create areas that felt enclosed and intimate versus open and spacious. So those are some of my thoughts on the ecology. And then if you enter the site on this road, driving within and landing in this parking lot, from here, visitors exit the parking lot onto this open lawn, which has access to this main boulevard, which connects to the road and would be drivable in case of emergency. So like if fire trucks or whatever needed to drive up to the building, which is situated at the far end of the site, they would be able to do that. But the goal would be for this to be very like walkable boulevard, and for people to traverse from the lawn through the different green spaces, which would eventually lead them back to the arena. So there's moments all along this path that were really important for me. The edges of the spaces and the way they connect are meant to create these really intimate and kind of natural moments of connection throughout the site, which kind of seems very informal, which is kind of like, in my mind, a fun contradiction with the very formal layout of the site. So one of these spaces is the connection between this park and the outdoor arena. So there's a section of it here, and the idea is that the topography in this park is designed to create a hill where people can sit, picnic, kind of be in the shade and hang out. But the topography also creates a ability for people to be elevated and look down on the outdoor arena. So if people are practicing or having performances in the arena, even if your intention wasn't to come and watch that, you would end up, having access to view that just kind of in your leisure. So these informal connections were really like a guiding principle in like creating a connection between the people and the horses and the equestrian program, even if they're just there to hang out. Another thing that I think is important to know on here is there's a large retaining wall here, and then the topography has been edited or kind of changed to make this a more walkable site. So that is for the various paths and whatnot moving around, but this entire kind of park area is completely flat just for accessibility and things like that. So these moments, I just want to go over a few more in sections since they were like important for me to draw. There's an area that I really like in here, which is where a few pastures flank this kind of gridded park area with seating. And the idea here was that people hanging out again would be able to view horses that are like relaxed and grazing in their pasture and kind of have this barrier of a waiting pool between them. But I just found that could be something that was like very calming to experience, water in like an outdoor park for the animals and the people, and that could create like a nice connection and kind of interstitial area between them. So then moving actually into the building, my arena is quite large. This is to service some of the kind of unique equestrian programmatic elements that would be there. So there's already quite an established culture of horseback riding in Philadelphia, and I wanted to bring something that maybe would be some things that would be like very common and easy for people, and then some things that would be a little more unique. So the intention is that this would be a place where children and adults could learn Western pleasure riding, which is pretty common and like standard in the equestrian community, but also that it can be a place where people practice and perform mounted horseback archery, which I think is kind of unique. And there's not a facility for it in Philadelphia, but there is one in Pittsburgh, so it's not completely uncommon, but something that's kind of fun. So the arena is quite large to support that program. And the connections through the building are, well, I guess the separations in the building more are by guest versus user experience. So the guest, people like who will be coming to watch performances, their circulation is entirely closed. So the path leads them up and into the Welcome Center, which connects to some restrooms, and the Welcome Center is a space that would open out into some garden beds here, which then face out towards the outdoor arena. So there's kind of a series of spaces here for people to view in and out. But from the Welcome Center, guests are brought to the arena seating, and then from there they can exit into kind of a backyard space planned north of the arena after performances. But besides that, they're kind of enclosed into this circulation route, which is actually raised 2 feet off of the ground. So there's some steps and ramps up to that, but that's kind of a way to keep them feeling separated from the rest of the program. And then for people who are there to like ride and work with horses, their entrance is stepped back from the kind of main building entrance, and they're brought into the area with the stables, which then kind of wraps around back here to the washing and grooming, tacking, offices areas, and all of that. So in between the arena and the washing and grooming and offices, there's kind of a little inner courtyard for them as well. And this was done to create kind of 2 separate small spaces for either the people who are there to enjoy watching performances, or the people actually working there to both have kind of a separate outdoor space. As well as opening this up to allow for the maximum south light openness into the actual building. So that's most everything that I had, but yeah, this project was fun for me to kind of think about landscaping a lot and creating small spaces and how they could allow people and horses to connect.
Really nice presentation.